So, welcome everyone to this masterclass and healing session on 3 steps to overcoming anxious attachment. For those of you who have followed previous masterclasses, you know I normally use presentation slides, but this time I thought, no, I really want to be here, present, looking at you, feeling you. So, like I said, for those of you who feel like turning on the camera, please go ahead and do that. For those that don't, no worries at all. And for those who are new here, I'm Cassandra. I'm an intuitive trauma healer and relationship coach. And I'm very, very passionate about helping my clients break free from unhealthy relationship patterns, heal childhood wounds, open their hearts, essentially overcome any blockages or limitations that are getting in the way from them having the beautiful, reciprocal, and healthy relationships that they desire. Because if you're anything like me, I truly believe that we are here to give and receive love. Just drop a 1 in the chat if that resonates with you. If relationships are important, if you think that we are here in order to open our hearts and really experience beautiful love, a love that will help us to expand and grow and flourish. And this is why I love my work so much, because I help and enable my clients to essentially get there. First and foremost, by improving the relationship that they have with themselves, because it's an inside job, right? And I want to talk a little bit about why I chose this topic. I think attachment, looking at our attachment wounds, is super, super important, because the way we relate to one thing in the world is often the way we relate to many things. And the relationships that we had with our primary caregivers will inform the way that we also view ourselves, the way we view the world, and the way we view relationships. And so when we start to heal these attachment wounds, I believe everything in our life starts to transform. The way we show up in our intimate relationships, in our friendships, with our families, in our business, right? Because it's essentially how we relate to the world. And so that's one reason I chose this topic. And another reason, as you can probably imagine, is because I used to have anxious attachment tendencies. And I was really plagued by this insecurity, by this constant stress. I was in relationships with maybe emotionally unavailable or avoidant partners. And I was in this constant state of insecurity and, may I say, even suffering. And I know how that can be. And so I went through this really long process. I've been doing inner work for over 15 years, and I found the best tools and techniques. And I've really figured out what works to get to the core of this issue. And that's why it's a topic that's so dear to me, because I know that change is possible. And I know that love can be easy and empowering and expansive. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me and why I chose this topic. And now regarding this masterclass and healing session, it's going to be a hybrid. So I'm going to be covering firstly some parts around anxious attachment. So giving you some insights around understanding what anxious attachment is. But I'm not going to give you the things that you find in the books or online, or the typical types of like theory. I'm going to go deeper, and we're also going to be looking at shadows, parts maybe of ourselves that we don't really want to see. So a shadow is a suppressed part that we've rejected, that we think is shameful, or that's too painful to bring to the surface. And I'm very passionate about shadow work, because I think, again, that's one of the ways that you can get concrete results. Because if you're just on the surface, you're never going to get to the root cause. And so I might be speaking to things that might trigger you, might make you a little bit uncomfortable. And if that happens, I just want you to move your body a little bit, to just feel where the discomfort is in the body, and yeah, just notice it, breathe through it, and move so you can then release it. And also, what I say, it's not set in stone. Take what resonates for you. And I'm going to be speaking based on my experience and based on my personal but also professional experience coaching many, many clients throughout the years. So, again, just take what is good for you, what resonates for you. So yeah, I'll be going through different aspects of anxious attachment so you can understand it a bit more, the implications and what it means. And then I will be giving you I'll be going through the three steps, the three pillars that I think is necessary to address so that you can start healing your anxious attachment tendencies. There'll be some concrete tips and tools. Then I will guide you through a beautiful shamanic inner child healing session. So please stay until the end so you can experience this. It will be focused on releasing feelings of neglect, abandonment, and loneliness, which, as we will see, are some of the core reasons for anxious attachment. And then I will go on to tell you a little bit about my upcoming program, which, as you can imagine, is on healing anxious attachment. So that's the outline of today's session. Um, I encourage you to take some notes with maybe certain things that stand out for you that resonate. And I'll be asking sometimes a couple of questions so that you stay engaged and yeah, you can interact with me in the chat. And then at the end of the session, there will be some time for Q&A. Yeah, so that's the intro. Um, so I want to start off telling you a little personal story. I remember it must have been probably about 10 years ago. I went to a therapist because at the time I was in a relationship with someone that was quite emotionally unavailable, quite avoidant. He wasn't opening up to me. And I was just craving for this love, for his affection. I just wasn't getting it. So, who can resonate with that? Who's been in a similar dynamic where they're like, I just want him or her to show up more. I'm not really feeling them. I'm not getting the affection that I want. You just drop a two if you've been in that dynamic. Um, and maybe you're even experiencing it as this yearning, as this craving, right? As this void in your heart. It's like painful. And so I went to the therapist and I'm telling her my story. I'm telling her how much pain I'm in. And she looks at me and she's like, yeah, maybe you should learn how to start giving this love to yourself. I got so triggered. I'm like, what are you talking about? But I want that love from him. How can you say this to me? And I was so, so triggered that I left and I never came back. And looking back at that, I find it quite funny, but I also understand why that happened. It was my inner child who, my whole life growing up, I was told to just do things myself. Like, oh, my parents were not there. They weren't really supportive as I wanted them to be. So I grew up being very independent. Who else is hyper independent here? And my whole life, I was told to do things myself. And now I'm just craving this love from my partner, and she's telling me to do it myself. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm out of here. This is not what I want to hear. Then, as the years passed, I started sort of understanding what she meant um, and how, in order to, in fact, receive the love that we so desire from others, we have to heal certain wounds within us that maybe tell us that we're not worthy subconsciously of this love. Um, and so I want to start off by saying that you're not broken, you're not too needy, you're not too sensitive. Whatever you're feeling, this craving, this yearning for love, it's 100% valid. And why it's happening is because it's a coping mechanism from growing up with inconsistent or misattuned caregivers, right? So you could never really count on your parents to show up consistently for you, or maybe there wasn't that like adequate mirroring. Mirroring is when a child expresses a need or an emotion, and then the parent is attuned enough to say, hey, that must really hurt, or that's tough, or yeah, I understand, right? It's validating the child's experience. And when we did not get that validation, or there was not that attunement present, then we start distrusting ourselves and our emotions. And then we also frantically seek for love because, one moment it's there and one moment it isn't, right? So that's what creates this hypervigilance in our relationships. It's like when there's perceived abandonment or rejection, we go into this regressed childlike state of, will the love be taken away from me again, right? And that is extremely scary. And the anxiety that you might be feeling, the craving, the yearning, the obsessive thinking, all of that has to do with you going back into a regress state and reliving these emotions that you felt as a child when love, presence, support was not there for you. Does that make sense? Just drop a 3 in the chat if you're following. Great. And perfect. Because of this, every time you feel this anxiety, this so-called neediness, this sensitivity, when all of these emotions are coming up, instead of judging yourself, I want you to start extending compassion and realizing that it's your inner child that just wants some love, some attention, some affection, and that you're not broken, you're not too needy, you're not too sensitive. Okay, regardless of what other people say in your life, if your partner judges you or feels like you're too much, I want you to just bring your focus inward and realize where this is coming from. Yeah. And so this is something I teach in all of my programs and with my one-to-one clients, that self-compassion is the foundation for all the healing work that you're going to do. Picture it like the soil, right? So you need to have this soil on the ground in order for the flowers to flourish. If there's no soil, there's no space, right, for the flowers to grow. And this is sort of like self-compassion. We're creating the foundation necessary in order to enable healing. Because as long as we're judging ourselves, there's no space for that. There's no space for growth. Okay. And now I want to move on a little bit to some of the shadow sides of anxious attachment and maybe some of the things that you don't see yet in this, let's say, attachment style or in this way of relating. And I'm going to start with the one that I did not believe for a very, very long time. And so once upon a time, I read somewhere that the anxiously attached individual, or actually, I prefer saying the individual with anxious attachment tendencies, right? We don't want to actually just use the label like this. Nothing is set in stone. We have certain tendencies. But what I read was that the individual with anxious attachment tendencies can also be emotionally unavailable. And I was like, no, that's not right. But I have so much love to give, and I'm so caring, and my heart's so open, and I'm ready. And I keep telling my partner that I want more, and he's not giving it to me. And I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that, how can I be emotionally unavailable, because I'm craving and I'm yearning for this love so much. And as the years went by, I noticed that emotional availability is not only being able to give love, but also being able to receive love, right? And one thing with anxious attachment is often linked to a low sense of self-worth. And subconsciously, we believe that we're not worthy of love. Because why? Of our inconsistent caregivers, right? One moment they were there, the other moment they were not there. So we made the conclusion that love is a bit scarce, love is not consistent, but also deep down that, well, maybe I'm not worthy of receiving this love that I desire, right? So that is going to harden our hearts It's also going to make us afraid to open to real, authentic love because there is a deep rooted fear of what if this gets taken away from me again? Do you guys see that? How that can create a certain level of emotional unavailability? And obviously, it depends on where you are in your healing process. But this is definitely something to look into. The ways that we might be self sabotaging sometimes. Or has it happened to you that you meet someone and they're quite secure and stable and they're showing up for you, and then you're like, I'm getting a bit bored, right? Who's had that? Just drop a five in the chat. If maybe the good, nice guy or girl, they're showing up consistently, and you're like, yeah, just like the spark's not there. I'm not really feeling it. So look into that. And I'm not saying settle for someone that you're not attracted to, that there's no chemistry, but try and discern if it's, like they say, your trauma brain talking or your heart. Yeah. Um, and so really looking into all the ways that you might be emotionally unavailable. And usually it boils down to that fear of what if I find this love and I open up and it gets taken away from me? Um, just like what happened when you were growing up, right? So just reflecting on that. Because you've probably heard the term that we live in a mirror universe, and that, if you continuously attract emotionally unavailable or avoidant people, could there be that little part within you that still needs to heal so that you can feel worthy and comfortable of actually receiving this beautiful, expansive love? Yeah. Um, there's another shadow side of anxious attachment that um, I wish I knew this sooner. So it's a strength, but it's also a weakness. As I said before, we have a huge capacity for connection. We're attuned to the emotions, the energy, the needs of others, and it's really easy for us to connect. Yeah. But this can become a shadow side when we're not mindful because we can rush into a connection. So who's met someone and maybe after 1 or 2 dates, you're like, oh my God, they're the one, it's happening finally. Like you're just like head over heels and you can feel like you have this soulmate, otherworldly connection with this person. Maybe even after 1, 2, 3 dates. Who's experienced that? Just yeah, put a six in the chat if you can connect on this level. Jason, you put 0, 0, 6. Yeah. And so I wish someone had told me this before. Sorry, Jason, I thought you meant like many, many times six. um, I wish somebody had told me this before. And this is one of the best pieces of advice. Take it slow. And another thing is, people with anxious attachment tendencies also tend to be very intuitive and empathetic. Maybe you identify with being an empath, right? So then you have these super high standards of like, I should meet someone and I should know immediately if they're the one, right? Who's guilty of that? And one reason we do that, okay, we have high standards because we're intuitive, but also because we're like, okay, I just want to be done with this. And we want to create a certain type of certainty in our minds of like, okay, they're the one, it's done, and then our nervous system can relax, right? So we're rushing because subconsciously we want to create this, false sense of control of knowing so that our nervous system can relax. And here it takes some practice to just stay in the unknown, in the in between, like, does this person like me? Do I like them? And actually, I think, yeah, this is another thing I wish someone told me is we're so focused on having the other person choose us that we're not discerning if we want to choose them. Right? We're super focused on, is this person going to choose me? Am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Will he commit? Will she commit? Instead of bringing the focus inward and saying, okay, do we have aligned values? How do I feel around this person? Can I be myself? Do I feel expanded? Yeah, so really discerning and taking it slow. Okay, so those are two very important pieces of advice if you're dating. So just let me know in the chat as well who's in a relationship here and who's dating. You can just put dating or single relationship, just to see the mix of people here. Amazing. So we've got a mix. I love that. And so this the attempt to, we're rushing, we're not discerning, we're so super focused on that the other person chooses us, right? We lose sight of red flags. And all of my clients come to me, they're like, Cass, I just want to learn how to spot the red flags. I don't think it's so much the problem of spotting them, because you can have a list of red flags. I can send that to you. It's about taking it slow so that you actually see them. Because often what happens is they're there, but we're not paying attention because we're so focused on, yes, this is the relationship. It's for me. Finally, it's happening. Dopamine, serotonin. We're not like in our bodies. And so that's why reconnecting with self is so important. And this is something I'm going to be talking about moving forward. Um, So something else that also connects with the emotional unavailability, but also being perpetually dissatisfied. Who can relate with these feelings of, I'm in a relationship or I'm dating or I've had certain relationships, but they're just not, meeting my standards. Like they're not showing up the way I want them to. We just have this like constant disappointment, right? Of like, why can't I just be happy in a relationship? Who's experienced this, right? It's this feeling of even going on a date and being like, okay, I'll start this relationship, but I'm pretty sure they're going to disappoint me. Who starts dating with that mindset, right? Just being like, I know where this is going to go. It's like, yeah, exactly. And so this is another shadow of anxious attachment, is this feeling of being perpetually dissatisfied. Um, and this comes from feelings of love deficiency, as I call it. So we never got the love and the affection we wanted growing up. So we felt dissatisfied, disappointed from our caregivers, right? And we carry on this emotion to our partners, to the people we're dating, because we're almost anticipating this disappointment also as a way to self protect, right? Because it's like, okay, if I already prepare myself now, I'm disappointed, I'm not feeling this, I'm not even opening my heart fully, then I won't get hurt. So you see, it's almost a way to protect ourselves and our hearts. And then there's a certain dynamic or limiting belief that's very common with anxious attachment, is the concept of um, I can want, but I won't have or I won't receive, right? It's like this yearning, but I never really get what I want. And again, that comes from our early childhood experiences, but it gets replicated in our adult relationships as well, right? We're with someone, it's going great in the beginning, then suddenly they withdraw, and we're like, oh shit, they're emotionally unavailable, they're avoidant. Again, why? That's mirroring back that belief we have of truly wanting but never receiving. Yeah? Does this resonate? Just drop a one in the chat if this resonates. Amazing. And then there are other reasons, of course, why we might continue to replicate this dynamic of being with emotionally unavailable partners or avoidant partners. So, one is what I said, that belief of wanting but never receiving. Then we have the piece of self-worth. Am I really worthy of receiving this type of love? And then the fear of losing it if we do receive it. And there's different elements and layers to this, but that's sort of like the overview. Um, and then another thing that's super common with anxious attachment is feelings of loneliness. Who suffers from feeling quite lonely, like they don't belong, maybe disconnected? It could be that you've had thoughts in the past like, I don't belong on this planet. I'm not from here. No one understands me. Um, I'm so sensitive. I feel everything so much, but other people are not the same. Um, yeah, so who experiences intense feelings of loneliness? Just put a me in the chat if this resonates. And that's a very, very common because it's connected to the abandonment, rejection, and neglect wounds that we experience growing up, right? Because again, if we were in a household where our parents weren't present, sometimes they were there, sometimes they weren't. We had to do all of these things by ourselves. We never received support and love, or the support and love that we desired. That's going to make us feel lonely, right? And then if we don't heal those core wounds, we're going to be carrying those feelings of loneliness and disconnection into our adult lives as well. Um, Another part I want to talk about is disconnection. So this is quite interesting because disconnection is what we fear the most, right? What we need for our nervous system is connection. We want maybe physical touch. We want someone there for us. We want to be in a relationship. We want to feel connected because that makes us feel calmer and helps us self regulate. So, the anxiously attached individual seeks regulation through connection, whereas the individual with avoidant tendencies will seek regulation through disconnection. Right. And that's why that mix is so hard, right? You have these opposing needs. Um, but what's interesting to look at when looking at the anxious attachment is disconnection is our biggest fear, but actually we're very disconnected from ourselves. And we might even feel, like you said, disconnected from the world. We feel lonely, like we don't belong, right? Why is that? Why do we feel so disconnected at times? One reason is that we did not receive the appropriate mirroring or attunement from our caregivers, right? So, like I said in the beginning, we expressed our needs, our emotions, and those were not validated. So when that happens, we start distrusting ourselves. If we go up to our mothers, we're like, "Hey, mom, I'm feeling so sad," and our mom is like, "Oh, you'll be fine. It's nothing." We're like, okay, so maybe what happened to me wasn't that bad after all, right? And then we start suppressing our emotions, distrusting what we're feeling, and looking to the outside for validation, right? Um, and this is one of the main pillars of for healing. And I mentioned, so this masterclass is called Three Steps to Overcoming Anxious Attachment. And I see it more as three pillars that you have to focus on in order to start healing the wounds and transitioning into a more secure style of relating. And the first pillar, you write that down, is reconnecting with self. So you have to start creating that connection again. Okay. And can anyone share in the chat, what do you think reconnecting with self actually means? What would that entail? If there are any ideas. Hmm. So a lot of people say self-love, caring for self, take care of myself. Hmm. Self-compassion, spending time alone. Hmm. Being present with yourself. Hmm. Yeah. So for me, And this is how I teach it in my 3-month program. Reconnecting with self is figuring out who we are, because I'm sure a lot of you here maybe still feel a little bit lost with the questions, who am I? What do I want in life? What truly makes me happy? Because um, if you have anxious attachment tendencies, maybe you're also prone to people pleasing or codependency, and you haven't learned to tune into your own needs. So I would say that's number one, right? What are my needs? How do I feel? Connecting with our bodies, with our emotions, with our energy, instead of being hyper empaths and being like, oh, what is so and so thinking? Is he going to abandon me? Is she going to regret? Is she going to leave me? Instead of being hyper vigilant around what other people are doing, bringing all of the focus inward and starting to really get to know ourselves. Like, intimately. So, what you said, like being more present with ourselves and being also alone with ourselves can help. Right? Getting clear on who we are, what makes us happy, what brings meaning into our lives, what are our values. Yeah. And also nervous system regulation, because when we're in a state of chronic anxiety or stress, we're disconnected from ourselves, right? We're in a trauma response. So the more we do nervous system regulation, the easier it will be to tune in and start listening to our heart, start listening to our intuition. um, then attunement to our bodies is very important as well, right? I love doing like body scan meditations or dancing or embodiment practices that help us come back and connect with our bodies, with our emotions. Then the other thing is shadow work. So, what are certain triggers, limiting beliefs, um, maybe wounding that's taken place that is, that are creating blockages in my life right now? So, really getting to know ourselves intimately. I would say that's the definition for me for reconnecting with self. And sure, you can practice self love and you can do certain activities that you like doing. But first, yeah, you need to do the groundwork. Like, what are those activities? Does this actually give me joy? Or is it just something I think I like doing because that's what society deems appropriate, right? There's so much conditioning, and just like coming back to ourselves and our hearts. And so even now, this is a super simple exercise. You can just close your eyes for a moment. I just want you to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths and just connect with your heart. And just tell me what you feel in this moment. How do you feel? Is there any tension in your body? So, this simple act of taking a moment to pause, connecting with your heart, and asking yourself, how do I feel? What do I need? And just let me know, are you able to tune into that? Or maybe some of you are like, actually, I'm not sure how I'm feeling right now, or I don't even know what I need. That's not uncommon at all. Yeah. And so, this is something I recommend to my clients to do daily. Just put a reminder on your phone that pops up and says, how do I feel? What do I need? And just take a moment, tune in, and then go ahead and honor that need. That's part of reparenting, right? And this is a super simple way to just start reconnecting. Mhm. So, Sasha asked, what if I have no idea what I need? So, that takes some practice. I would say if you tune in, the first question is, are there certain emotions that are coming up or none? Because if you're disassociated, that's another story. But if you have certain emotions like anxiety, tension, stress, negative thinking, you can find certain tools that might help in, yeah, combating those emotions, right? So first tuning into the emotion and then seeing what would be, yeah, an appropriate way to meet this need. It could even be something as I'm hungry, so you go eat, or I'm tired, and then you just have a nap. Yeah, and you approach yourself like you would approach a child that you love dearly, as if you're taking care of a child, right? That's part of the reparenting process. So the first pillar to healing is reconnecting with self. The second pillar is healing the inner child. So as you can imagine, this is super, super important because our attachment wounding comes from our childhood and our earliest experiences with our caregivers. So if you don't go to heal that piece, you're not going to experience concrete change, right? This is the root cause of anxious attachment. It's the attachment wounding that was created growing up. And so some elements here would be starting to release and process the fear of loneliness and abandonment, healing your mother and father wounds, rewiring limiting beliefs, healing your trust wounds, because essentially you don't trust people to show up for you. You don't trust that love is constant, that love will always be there. Right? And maybe you've been hurt in the past and then you've created these barriers around your heart. And then also going on to cultivating self-worth, self-love, self-compassion. Right? So these are some aspects, some elements that you can work on when healing the inner child. And this is something that we cover in detail in my 3-month program. And I think one of the most important pieces is the feelings of loneliness and abandonment and the element of self-worth. So who here, just put a 5 in the chat, feels like they need to work on their self-worth? That maybe, they're settling for breadcrumbs. They're in a relationship, but they don't really feel like the relationship is good for them, but they stick around anyways. Maybe you have a hard time, setting boundaries or saying no to people. And you're just overextending yourself as a way to receive love and affection. Yeah. And the third and final pillar, I call it the rebirth. And what does that mean? It means that we don't have to be controlled by our past, right? We get to rewrite our stories and step into the best, most empowered version of ourselves. And so, if you had to heal these wounds and transition and step into this new empowered version of yourself, what would that look like? Let me know in the chat. Right? Just envision yourself. You've healed these wounds. You're fully stepping into your power. Yeah, what does that look like? Let me know if you want to share. And for me, some pieces that I think are paramount for the rebirth phase is authenticity, authentic expression. So being able, well, firstly, knowing who we are, that we identified in the first step, and then allowing ourselves to fully step into that, right? To step into our power, to step into our authenticity, to start expressing ourselves, setting healthy boundaries, asking for what we need, right? Activating our voice. Another part of the rebirth process for me is self-trust. So really starting to trust ourselves to make decisions that are good for us and our nervous system, to choose people who are good for us. Then in the rebirth phase, a lot about confidence, sovereignty, feeling grounded and empowered because now you've already worked on calibrating your nervous system. Through the healing process, not taking things personally and knowing that people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves, right? It's having that mindset, that growth mindset, right? And then finally, stepping into your magnetism, into your self leadership, into your radiance. So, feeling so confident, safe, secure in who you are that just by being you, you attract your tribe, you attract high value partners because you know that you're worthy. And that's the rebirth phase. It's just, yeah, just rewriting our stories and stepping into the best, most empowered version of ourselves. And that is totally 100% possible. And that's why we're called to do this work, right? The so that we're no longer victims of the past, that we can create a new bright future and have the wildly fulfilling relationships that we desire. Yeah. And I want to say one thing about healing. So, healing isn't about accepting avoidant behavior, right? This is not why we're doing this work. So, we can suddenly be Buddha and be like, oh, it's okay to be avoidant or available. Instead, it's about choosing people who are good for you and your nervous system and slowly not finding unavailable people attractive anymore, right? Because you have healed those wounds and the inconsistency is not attractive anymore, right? So, that for me is the true indication of healing because you might do this work, start dating, and still see that. You might be meeting people who are emotionally unavailable or avoidant. That doesn't mean you haven't done the proper healing work. um, the true indication would be if you're going out with him and you're like, no, this is not what I want. I deserve more. I deserve this reciprocal, loving, committed, expansive relationship, right? That's going to be the true indication of healing. Yeah. So just drop it too in the chat if you're all still with me here, if you're still here and present and this is resonating. So now we're going to go into my favorite part, which is the shamanic inner child healing session. So this is going to be a visualization where you're going to have your eyes closed. It's going to be something like a meditation. Um, I at some points in the session, I might be talking about guardian angels, about ancestors, about benevolent forces. If this doesn't resonate with you, I just ask that you stay open. These are some of the energies that I work with in my healing practice. It has nothing to do with religion or Christianity. So if you feel some resistance, if you hear the word angel or ancestor or guide, just try and breathe through that resistance for a moment and embrace this process. Um, and then at certain points, I'll be guiding you through this, but I might ask for your permission to send you some healing energy. And if that is something that you would like to receive from me, all you have to do silently or out loud is say the word yes so that you can receive the energy healing that I'll be sending. Okay. So I would like you all to get comfortable. Yeah. And I want you to take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale through the mouth with an audible sigh. Breathe in through the nose and exhale with a sigh. Closing your eyes. One last time, breathing in through the nose and exhale with a sigh. Now you can go back to breathing normally. Relaxing your shoulders, your jaw, and releasing any tension that you might be carrying from the day. I want you now to visualize roots, like the roots of a tree, growing from the soles of your feet, and going deep, deep down into the earth's center. And you're absorbing this beautiful red life force energy. This energy is flowing up your feet, your calves, your thighs, your pelvis, your stomach, your heart, your neck, your head. It's filling up your whole being and making you feel grounded, safe, secure. And I want you to notice how it feels to be sitting on the chair or couch that you're on, and that it's holding you and supporting you and making you feel even safer in your body, in this space, and in this present moment. Mm. I want you now to visualize a white light coming out of the crown of your head, and it's going up, up to the heavens, connecting you with Source, with your higher self, with your guides, your ancestors, and all benevolent energies that want to assist us today to go deeper into releasing and healing whatever it is we need to heal now. I want you to turn off your logical mind and allow whatever wants to come through with non judgment and attachment. When I guide you through certain parts, don't try and think if it makes logical sense. Just allow the subconscious to bring forward whatever wants to come up today. At certain points, I will be asking for your permission to send you energy, healing energy, and you just need to say yes so you can receive it. I want you now to think of a time when you felt very alone as a child, when you maybe did not get the support that you needed, or maybe there was something very overwhelming happening at home and you did not know how to handle it. I want you to think of a time where you really needed some support. Maybe someone to just be there for you, to hug you, hold you, and tell you that everything is going to be okay. But no one was there. If a specific memory doesn't come to mind, that's totally fine. I want you to just connect with feelings of loneliness and just allow the first image to come to mind associated with that feeling. Maybe it's just you playing alone in your room or feeling left out at school. Trust that whatever memory or image comes to mind is meant to. As you witness this memory or this image, I want you to walk towards your inner child, to your younger self, and connect with him or her. Tell the child that it's safe and that you're from the future and you're here to help. I want you now to connect with the child that may be feeling these feelings of loneliness, neglect, or abandonment. Feel it in your body and try and extend compassion. I want you to start forming a bond of trust and familiarity. Maybe you can play with your younger self, give a child a hug. I'll give you a moment now to form this bond and create some trust. Now I want you to ask the child, how do you feel? And go on to validate the child's experience and emotions, saying that you understand how hard it is and that he or she is not alone, that you're here. Then ask the child, what do you need to feel safe? And see what comes up. And if possible, tend to the child's needs. Make the child feel safe. Now you can say, I understand that you're really craving and yearning for love, and that you need more support and presence from mom or dad. I know what you're going through is hard, but I want you to know that you're not alone during this time. And now, if you're experiencing some emotions of sadness, just allow them to be there. Welcome them. And send your breath to the area that might be feeling contracted. Now I want to bring your attention to the fact that during this challenging time, a part of you was lost. That could have been your sense of safety, your self-worth, your innocence, your confidence, your trust in the world. A part of you was lost that day or during that challenging period of time. So what part of you was lost? Just note the first thing that comes to mind. This is a soul fragment, a part of you that was lost, and now we're going to go retrieve it and reintegrate it. I want you to take your younger self by the hand, and in the distance, you notice a light. I want you to walk towards the light, and then you see a staircase going down. Take the child by the hand and start walking down the staircase, down, down, down. And then you get to a space where there is just pure darkness. This is the void, the realm in between worlds where anything is possible, the realm of unlimited potential. It is where we're going to create a new reality. So as you step out into the darkness into the void, there's a sense of peace, of calm, of safety. And I want you now to see Archangel Michael with his beautiful white wings and his sword just standing there protecting you and protecting the space. In the distance, you see a small lake. I want you to walk towards it and look at your reflection in the water. Your younger self is still next to you, but take a look at your reflection in the lake and notice what you see. We are going to retrieve that lost part of you from this lake. Think of the lost part you identified before, the part of you that was lost during that challenging time. Now turn off your logical mind and tell me, if this lost part took the form of an object, what would it look like? What would it be? Allow the first object that comes to mind to just pop up, symbolizing this lost part. Refrain from judging and just let your subconscious show you this object, the object that symbolizes the part that you lost. If for whatever reason an object did not appear, just keep in mind that it's going to be a white pearl. And for those of you who did get an object, stay with that object in mind. I want you to see that I am appearing now in your visualization. I'm coming to you, next to you. We're both, all three of us, by the lake. And I'm going to retrieve this lost part for you from the lake. I know what object to look for, and I want you to see me diving into the lake, and I'm searching and searching for it. And I found it. I found the object that you have lost. And I get out of the lake and I open the palm of my hand, and you can see the object. I infuse it with unconditional love and I give it to you. Now, I want you to give this to your younger self and encourage the child to put it in its heart to reintegrate this lost part. So I want you to see your younger self taking the object and putting it in the heart center. This is a part of you, of your power that has been lost. And now, in the void, in the space of unlimited possibilities, we are retrieving it, reintegrating it, so you can feel a sense of wholeness and inner union. So if you haven't already visualized it, see your younger self reintegrating that part in the heart center. And I'm going to be sending you some healing energy to your heart space so that it can open even more and welcome this integration. Just say yes silently or out loud, giving me permission to send this beautiful healing energy to your heart space. And give me a moment while I do so. Just breathing into the heart and noticing if you feel any energy moving. Now that your heart might be a little more open, I want you to see that you are merging with your inner child. You might see that the two forms are becoming one, or that you're placing your inner child back into your heart, creating even more the sense of inner union. So here you are merging with your younger self and with the part of you that was lost. You feel even more whole, confident, at peace. And I want you now to go towards the lake one more time and look at your reflection. See if you notice any differences from the reflection you saw before. Just observing whatever comes up with acceptance and non judgment. Now, as you're standing there in the void, I want you to see other energies, other people appearing. These are the souls of every person who is listening live right now, every person that's listening to the recording. I want you to just see all these different beautiful souls appearing in their integrated, powerful forms. And I want you to just feel the sense of community, of union, that you are truly not alone, and that every single person here in this room has gone through something similar. They may have felt abandoned, neglected, alone, afraid. And as I say these words, I want you to see this grid forming. It's like these lines of energy that are connecting all of us right now in space, in time, reminding us that we are indeed interconnected and that we are indeed one, and internalizing the fact that we are not alone in this human experience. And when things become hard and overwhelming, we can connect with these feelings of support and unity. And as you start to feel this connection with your brothers and sisters, I'm also going to call in my guides, your guides, our guardian angels, and any other benevolent beings that are always here supporting us. And you might see this as beautiful white lights appearing in your visualization. And I want you to just notice the unconditional love emanating from the space. Can you feel the love, the unity, the support? I want you to see me appearing next to you. We're both still in the void. And I want you to see me touching your heart and putting my hand on your heart center. And if you wish, please give me permission to enter your heart and send you this beautiful healing energy so that you no longer feel the void or that yearning for love so intensely. So I'm placing my hand on your heart center. And notice if you feel any energy moving in your body. See if you can feel the energy of unconditional love and your whole being basking now in this energy. Now bringing back the focus to you, seeing yourself still standing in the void. And for one final time, I want you to go up to the lake and look at your reflection and see if anything else has shifted after this experience of unity, belonging, support, and love. Now I'm going to take your hand and we're going to walk towards the staircase, going up, 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 leaving the void, knowing that you can come there whenever you need to reconnect with this feeling. And as we walk up the stairs, we're transported back into this room, into the present moment, feeling more integrated, more aligned, more hopeful, more resilient, and more connected. As this shamanic healing session comes to an end, you can slowly wiggle your fingers and your toes and just take your time to come back into the room, into the present moment. So I'm just letting all of you slowly come back, and I would love for you to share your experiences what came through. Does anyone want to share either with voice or in the chat? Mm. Marisa says the part that was missing showed up as a crystal. And Marisa, what did it symbolize if you want to share? Mhm. Did everyone manage to get an object come to mind? When I asked you to think of the part that was lost, was that easy for you to think of an object? Christina also got a crystal. Beautiful. So this was the channeled visualization. I've never done it before. So I'm super curious, and your feedback is very helpful. Wood and red heart. Mimi got emotional. And did any of you experience any energy running through your body? Did you feel the love, the connection? Mm, beautiful. Yeah, pearl necklace, the symbol was to be valued and feel worthy. Mm. Margot says, I saw myself in the lake in the beginning as a tree, and later I saw myself as a tree filled with flowers on my branches. Wow, beautiful. Christina felt the healing energy I sent. Mm. Helen saw her security blanket as a child. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Yeah, and I want to hear more. Continue to share your experiences in the chat. Mm, amazing. And I'm available for you. Please connect with me on Instagram or Facebook or even via email. If any emotions are coming up, if you're having any experiences after this visualization and you need some extra support, don't hesitate to reach out, because this is work that impacts the subconscious. And in the beginning with my clients, they're like, oh, but this is just a visualization. I don't think it's going to do much. But trust me, these are very, very powerful. And by the end, most of my clients, they say that this is their favorite part and what's really made the deep concrete change that they're experiencing. So allow this to integrate. You can also journal on what came up and the symbolisms behind the objects, or also the parts of you that you chose to hold back. It's like, how can you start cultivating this in your daily life? Yeah. Fawn says she felt the energy I sent, and my heartbeat was pumping more in my chest than my left hand in that moment. Amazing. Yeah, and this is something else, that these types of group healings and group visualizations are also extremely powerful, and it's so possible to receive similar benefits and also working one to one when we're working in the quantum, when we're working in these realms. Gold key, Simona says. I think Fawn had a gold key as well. It's also interesting to see how sometimes we are interconnected and the objects are similar, or what we want to retrieve is similar. Because I believe that the people that come together to do a healing like this, there's no coincidences, right? That you're going to be sharing similarities. And that's why the group context can be so powerful. Yeah. It's almost like the energy is then expanded. It's the same if anyone has done plant medicine, right? That's in a group setting. And the people that come together for that ceremony, they often share, similar wounding, similar aspirations, similar beliefs. And then the healing process is intensified in that way. Amazing. And so moving forward, we're almost done. I want to tell you a little bit about my upcoming program, which, as you can imagine, it's all on healing anxious attachment. Can you see my screen? Can you guys see my screen or not? Yeah? Okay. Um, yeah, so the group program, I'm really, really excited to be launching this because it's super dear to me, the topic, as I mentioned in the beginning. And I think healing our attachment wounds is fundamental for anything that we want to do in life. And this is a 3-month journey towards self worth, self confidence, and secure relating. And it's 3 months, the 3 pillars that I went through here: reconnecting with self, healing the inner child, and the rebirth. There's going to be all these different elements that we're going to be addressing, from nervous system regulation, healing our abandonment wounds, healing the mother and father wounds, tapping into our authenticity, our confidence, attuning to our discernment, starting to choose people who are good for us. All the elements that I went through during this presentation will be covered in this 3-month program. And it will be, there's a really holistic approach to the way I work. So I use science-based theory. There's going to be group coaching, interactive group exercises, workbooks, shamanic healings like the ones you experienced today, a Facebook community, and more. And so my vision for this program, it's something that I really, really believe in, is just having this holistic approach. And this is what gets my clients results. So even now, even though it's a group setting, my goal will be to facilitate these types of healing sessions for every session that we do. So in every module, there's going to be a similar inner child, shamanic, or trauma healing session, so that we really get to address the root cause, right, of what's going on. And so this is, in a nutshell, what you're going to receive in this program. For the first 4 people who sign up, you get a 90-minute trauma healing session with me, and that's worth $500. There's going to be 9 live lectures, group healing sessions and coaching calls, workbooks, lifetime access to all the materials, a private Facebook group, and I've added a lot of bonuses to this program. So you're going to get complimentary access to a past program I facilitated called Opening the Heart, worth $444. You get access to my 4-week meditation program, From Fear to Authenticity, and other guest talks on boundaries and self-trust. And I'll probably be bringing some live guest speakers to the program as well. And especially for the people here, I opened a super early bird price. So for those of you that maybe scanned the page before, the price was a little bit different. I lowered it now, especially for the people that are attending this workshop. And you save $755 if you book within 72 hours. So on Thursday, September 8th, the price will go up. And as I said, for the first 4 people who sign up, you get a free trauma healing session with me. This is a 3-month program, and like I said, it's Basically, what I had to go through for around 10 years to heal my own attachment wounds, and the process that I've guided hundreds of clients through so that they can come to a state of secure relating and feel more worthy, confident, and secure in their relationships. Yeah, we'll be starting October 5th. And I'll drop the link here in the chat, and we're going to move over now to do a Q&A. So if you have any questions around the presentation, around anxious attachment, around the upcoming program, let me know. And already here in the chat, is anyone interested in joining the program? Did you really feel me? Did the things I speak about today resonate? Did the shamanic session resonate? Just yeah, drop A1 in the chat if you're like, oh, I'm actually interested in this program, it resonates. And I am going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to drop the link of the program page in the chat so you can check it out. Oh, sorry, I sent it to Christian. There you go. And I think what really makes this program different is the inner child trauma healing and shamanic energy healing components. I don't think there's any other program like this out there. And it's the combination of that with the theory, the workbooks, the shadow work, and so on. Yeah, Marisa asked me if I'm in Europe. Yes, I'm in Europe now. You can take a look on the program page for the timings. It will be probably, this also depends on the people that join, but probably it will be 4 p.m. Amsterdam time on Wednesdays. And often I get this question, clients are like, oh, but I can't make the live session, or maybe I'll miss one. There's no problem at all because you can catch the recording as well. And even when we're working with energies, we're working in the quantum, you're still going to be receiving the healings, even if you watch the recording. And then we'll always have, we have a Facebook group where you can post any questions and you get personalized support. Oh, sorry. And so, yeah, just let me know what your questions are. Anka asks, is it going to be weekly meetings? Yes, we have one session a week. And then at the end of the month, we have a 1 week break for integration. So it's going to be 3 sessions in the month, 1 week integration. And during that week, you still get support in the Facebook group, and you can always reach out to me for anything that may come up. And as I mentioned, there's a 750 euro discount for 72 hours, especially for you. I haven't opened it up to the public yet. So I'm just going to be informing, the other people who signed up and are going to catch the recording, and you guys, so you have priority access to register for the program. And then when I do release it to the public, it's going to be at the early bird price, which is going to be a little bit more expensive than what it is now. So if you're interested, you can always email me, message me if you have any questions. And I would love, love, love for you to join the program if all of this resonated. And please don't be shy. I have some time for Q&A regarding anxious attachment, the program, anything else that may have come up for you during the healing session. Just let me know what it is. I'm open for your questions.
Hi, Cassandra. Thank you so much for this. It was really, really powerful experience, and I appreciate that. I have a general question because I struggle with this concept, and you asked the group a little bit, and we got some things, but I think a lot of people associate self-love with self-care, like a massage or a facial, and you know, as with this attachment issue, we're always looking out. Can you try to give me a better definition? Because when people say it, I don't understand. Like,
Hmm.
go love yourself. Like, even in the lyrics in a song, like I don't know what that means. So if you can give a short synopsis of what you tell your clients, so I can kind of journal about it and think about it. Thanks.
About what self-love is, like what the definition of self-love would be.
Or how, or yeah, I know how to love other people, and I know how to try to
Mhm.
expect love, but it doesn't make sense.
Um, I like to bring it back to the concept of self-worth. And if you look at my content, my post, my website, I rarely mention self-love, and I mostly speak to self-worth, because I think self-love is a product of self-worth. So it's when we feel like we're truly deserving of love, acceptance, belonging, compassion, um, then that just will translate into making better choices regarding relationships, our well-being. Um, you know, we won't be settling anymore, maybe for toxic situations. We'll be putting ourselves first, we'll be putting our well-being first. For me, it's just this feeling of I'm worthy of all the good in this world, and I'm going to show up in that way. Does that make sense? And that could have a lot of different translations, right? You can say, oh, I eat healthy, I take care of my body, I sleep well. I say no to toxic relationships. I don't, go to a job that doesn't satisfy me. Like you can translate that into so many different ways, right? But just because someone takes care of their body, for example, works out, doesn't necessarily mean that they love themselves or that they're rooted in self-worth either, right? Because oftentimes people try and they're very maybe anchored in appearances, or they have some other conditioning from childhood that says I have to do all these things in order to feel good enough. But the reason they work out, the reason they eat healthy is not because they love themselves, but because they don't feel good enough. So you have to see where the actions are coming from, and that's why I like to speak to self-worth more. It's like, am I doing this because I really think I deserve it, or am I doing it because I don't feel worthy? You
So
see the
the
difference?
motivation, like I'm trying to look, like a bodybuilder for attention, not
Hmm.
necessarily because okay, almost the opposite. I don't think I'm worthy, so that's why I'm working out and trying to get attention.
Yeah, it
Okay,
it yeah, it could
that
totally be
analogy
that.
makes sense.
Yeah, and that's
Okay.
not rooted in self-love, right? It's not rooted in self-worth. It's coming from a place of insecurity. But then it's if you come to a point, and like this is what we go over in my program, is like really knowing who you are, what makes you happy, what your values are, where you want to set boundaries, what energizes you. And then you show up and you make different choices that are for your highest good because you know what's good for you. That to me is self-love. And I think another good let's say analogy is, how would you treat a child that you love dearly, right? And that's the reparenting and the self-compassion. And I think those are very beautiful expressions of self-love. So when you're going through a tough time, when you're struggling, can you extend compassion? Can you be kind to yourself? Can you accept yourself where you're at? Yeah. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
Anyone else? Mm. Anka, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So, does anyone else have any other questions for me around this topic, around the program? No? And I'm really, really curious to hear your feedback about the visualization. So, if we're not yet connected on Instagram, if you have Instagram, this is my handle. Just message me and tell me, hey, Cass, this came up for me. This is how I felt. Or maybe you have a question, a more personal question around, yeah, sorry. around what happened in the visualization, don't hesitate to reach out to me. That's my handle there on Instagram. If you use it, you can also find me on Facebook or email me. Marco asked, will the program be Wednesday at 4? Yes, Marco, that's the allocated time in this moment. If all participants are from the US, that might change, but right now it's, yeah, 4 p.m. Amsterdam time on Wednesdays. You're very welcome, Jason. I hope you found this useful. And before the rest of you go, you can also just leave like one main takeaway from this session that also helps to sort of crystallize things. Yeah. All right. Raksha asked, would really love if you can recommend some good books. On what topics, Raksha? Do you have something specific that you're looking to work on? Mm. So I just finished reading The Surrender Experiment. I don't know if any of you had read that. It's a book by Michael Singer, and it's this beautiful. Oh, so what it says it is, he surrendered his life to just, yeah, the universe and the unfolding, and he tried not to make plans, and he would just say yes to whatever opportunities would come his way, even if they didn't, even if it wasn't according to his personal preferences. And he went from being this broke yogi to creating a multi-million dollar company, just because his goal was to surrender and let the universal intelligence in the universe guide him. So that's a very interesting book if any of you are practicing the art of surrender. Inner child healing. I really like Teal Swan, the completion process. And trauma healing, I would suggest The Body Keeps the Score by Basil van der Kolk. Okay, great. Marisa, so you say you have a better idea of the inner work that you need to work on. Beautiful. Okay, so I'll post the link one last time to the program page. I'll also be sending more information about the 3-month program, and you'll also be getting the recording of this masterclass. So you can redo this shamanic healing session again as well if you want. It was a pleasure guiding all of you today. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Cassandra, one quick question.
Yes.
Can you please repeat the books?
So Teal Swan, I'll write them here. The completion process, or inner child work, and The Body Keeps the Score for trauma healing. Yeah. I put them in the chat. Okay, everyone. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be sending over all the information, and I hope to stay connected and see some of you in Healing Anxious Attachment. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much.